Hey everybody, it's another Cooking with Cory. Today I am making carrot and apple curry soup. So something healthy because everything I usually make is kind of, fattening and bad and has all kinds of things in it. And people comment that, hey man, when are you going to make something that's actually good for us and doesn't contain a whole bunch of fat stuff that most of us can't eat or aren't going to eat anyway. So I figure this curried apple soup is good for you. It's got a lot of fiber and it's nutritious and low calorie and all that fun stuff. Doesn't have a lot of sugar. All the sugars is from fruit. But anyway, I already prepped some of the stuff. So again, you don't want to sit and watch me chop onions. I'm pretty sure you know how to chop an onion. And the carrots are already cut up, peeled a little bit. I didn't peel them super clean because like a lot of the vitamins in the carrot are in all those little black lines that are in there. So if you watch some shows though, cooking shows, they'll tell you to leave that in there because it's got vitamins in it. But other people are like super clean freaks and they'll tell you like that's dirt and gross, so they'll tell you not to eat it. But whatever. Washed it with some water and don't worry about the little black things. You know, we're too germ conscious about everything, and now if you watch the news you'll see that antibacterial soaps are going off the market because we're making super resilient strains of crap because everybody's such germaphobes, you know. So like whatever, man, don't you don't have to make everything sterile. Anyway, so this calls for 5 medium carrots, 1 medium onion. You want to chop that up. And then 2 large Gala apples. I like Galas because they're hard and they cook pretty easy. And I like the flavor because they're kind of sweet with a little tang, a little bit of sour to them. Not too bad. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then all you've eaten is red and green apples. Then go to the store and look at the apples and sample something new. Throw a different kind of apple in there because Galas are really tasty. Let's see. So, gonna peel the apples. I actually have an apple corer. I would use it, but I don't know where it is at this exact moment in time, so I'm not too worried about it. But it does make coring your apples a lot easier. You just shove it in there, and it cores the apple for you. So anyway, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna chop these in 4. So, you know, you're gonna, obviously you don't want to eat the core, and you know it's gonna be a soup, so you don't necessarily have to have every last microscopic piece of apple in there. Anyway, so I'm gonna clean this up a little, take some of the skin off. You don't really want the skin in there because the skin will be kind of it's not going to blend up very well. So anyway, so what this curry soup is what you do is when you blend it up, or whatever, after you get the veggies soft, you're going to take the soup and transfer it to a food processor, which I have. You can probably see it over there. It is right there. Yeah, see my knife's pointing at it like a mouse cursor right there. That is food processor. So that is the way that you want to blend it up. Now, you say, dude, Cory, I don't have lots of money and I don't have a food processor, so work with me here. That sucks. So you can use your blender if you got a blender, because I'm sure you make margaritas and tequila sunrises and all that other crap out of a blender. And if you ain't even got that, maybe you have a magic bullet and you can use your magic bullet. If you got none of that, well, get your potato masher out and start mashing the stuff up. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's got to be puree. And you want to try to do it as fine as possible. But anyway, that's gonna come later. So we chop these apples up into some nice little cubies, throwing them in the bowl here. And like I said, you can make the stuff pretty big and chunky because you're gonna blend it up. So it's not a big deal if you can't, you know, you don't have to make it microscopic to start with because you're gonna end up blending it. So you know, it's not a big deal. All right, so. I'm trying a little different perspective just because my kitchen was kind of busy over there earlier, so I kind of moved over here. But like, see, that's what's left. You don't need to use the entire apple. I mean, You know, you don't want seeds and all that fungamungus in there. So we'll take this over here. And again, Gala apples are like really tasty. So they're kind of sour, but they got that real good sweet, and it'll complement that curry that you're gonna slap in here. Now, if Gavin or Adam are watching, it's not anywhere near the curries that we would eat on a game night. Not even close. I have set aside already. Like I said, I prepped a lot of this early just so it wouldn't waste time while I was dumping and pouring things. But anyway, so let me go back over the ingredients real quick because I see a couple of people actually logged in. All right, so 5 carrots chopped, 2 Gala apples chopped, big pieces. It's all good. This is 1 medium onion, and it said 1 celery stalk, but I had like little cheesy celery stalks that were a little tiny, so I put 2 in there just because I wanted a little more celery in there. And celery's good for you anyway, so it's all good. Anyway, so I am going to transfer us over this way so you can see and hear. So let's go this way. Alright, so. And I need to turn that stupid light off because it glares. There, that's better. Now you can put this down a little bit so you can see the stove. Ah, much better. Okay. Alright. So what we're going to do is we got your soup stock pot. Got a hard bottom. I have several different stock pots because I love to make soup, and especially during the holidays. I'll put all kinds of soups on for the holidays. So I have several different types of stock pot. But anyway, you're going to let that warm up a little bit because I don't like to dump stuff in a cold pan. Not that you can't, but I just don't like to. Throw 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil in there. It's a generous tablespoon, but you know, whatever. And then you need 2 tablespoons of butter. 2 tablespoons. Looks about like maybe that much right there. That's about 2 tablespoons. So like a finger and some change worth. Throw that in there. Let those babies sit in there for a little minutes. All right. So now some other stuff that you can prep or just buy ahead of time is the chicken stock. I just took the, what are they called? These little dooders here. These little Weiler's things. I just took those and I put, it calls for 4.5. Well, a half is a weird number, and 1 bouillon cube makes 1 cup. So 4.5, like, might as well go over and make it 5, make it more tasty. Anyway, it's a curry, so yeah, we want to have lots of flavor. Alrighty. So, what I've learned is that if you throw these suckers in the nuker for a little bit and you cook them in there, not quite boiling the water, you can usually get them to break apart fairly well. And just let that sit there. Wow, that's really large. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like stick that roll up in your face like that. For those of you that, because I did see some people, because like there's this really cool thing on YouTube that shows you who's watching your videos. So people from like Europe are watching, whatever. I don't know what time of day it is over there, 8-hour difference or something. But anyway, so if you're like European or any other place besides America where they use like metric instead of cups, everything I usually do is in cups. So 250 milliliters is a cup, so just do the math, you know. If I say 4 cups, well, that's 1,000 milliliters, or a liter if you so desire to do it that way. Anyway, there's lots of cool programs on the internet to figure that crap out for you too if you're not if you're mathematically challenged and can't figure out what adding 250 and 250 and keep adding 250. Oh, hey, there's 2 people on there. That's cool. All right. So anyway, this cup only holds 4 cups, so I'll throw another half a cup of water in there because I have 5 bouillon cubes in there. So I'm going to take my veggies because this is starting to make noise. The butter has melted, and you don't want your butter to get too hot and start browning and then turning like really brown and yucky, because that's not good. You throw all your soft veggies in here. So that's the onions and the celery. And you kind of toss it around in there a little bit and let it go until it's soft. I might have that a little bit too high. What I like is this is called a fireman stove. Probably because the guy who lived here in the house before me was a fireman, so he bought fireman stuff. So it has like this big boiler thing on it. I like it. It's cool. It makes things hot faster, and it also holds really big. Whoops, really large amounts of stuff. All right. This smells really good, by the way. I don't know, like, if you're not like real big in like onion smell or whatever. Like, I know it stinks on your breath when you breathe all over people with it, but onions and celery, when you throw them with butter and olive oil and you start cooking them, smells awesome. Like I'm slobbering all over the place because it's making me drool. Anyway, so for your dry spices, it's 2 tablespoons of curry. It doesn't matter what kind of curry you get. I got, what do I got? Where's my curry at? I got the McCormick's curry, whatever. You can use whatever curry you like, just as long as it's curry. If you are a person who is overseas or in Europe or in India or someplace that has really good curry, that would probably taste even more yummy. And then it calls for 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I did the half because I'm the only one that's really going to eat this, so I like the half. And then salt and pepper to taste, so I just threw, I don't know, I use my hand like this. I sprinkle enough pepper to make like a mound, throw it in there. Same with the salt. With soups, when you make soup, if you get too carried away on the salt, you can't take salt out. So like a lot of things, like if you have sweet, you can neutralize it with vinegar. If you have things too vinegary, you can use it with salt. You know, you can do that. If it's too hot, you can throw sugar in it. Like, there's different ways to neutralize things if you make them wrong. However, if you put too much salt in something, you're put too much salt in it and it's going to taste salty. You can't take the salt back out. So the only way you really get away from that is to make it watery. And that's a coffee bean, sorry. My daughter bought me a hand grinder a few years ago. Might even been a year ago, I don't know. But anyway, I like to hand grind my coffee. See, Sierra bought me this. It's neat. It's a little hand grinder. And I grind up my coffee. And since it's after work, I like to have special coffee. And it's tasty. So while that stuff's cooking back there in the background, I'll just kind of let it go here and let it get kind of soft. And it usually takes about 5 or 10 minutes for stuff to get soft. You know, it's all dependent on how hot you have your stove. You don't want this to be too hot though, because you don't want to scorch your vegetables. You just want them to get nice and tender before you stick the other things in. And like, I don't really know why you have to do the onions and the celery and make them tender first when I'm about to boil the snot out of the carrots and the apples and make them tender. Don't understand that. Don't know why, but whatever. So anyway, probably because it makes them taste different. Like I said, it smells really good when you fry up that celery and that man, this isn't hot enough. Anyway, having a little trouble with the bouillon cubes. They're fighting me here. They don't want to break up into little pieces, but normally when you nuke these babies, they break up pretty easy. Again, so this is a healthier thing than I'm usually make. I usually kind of make stuff that's like not so healthy, and people have been kind of calling me out on that and like, hey dude, like, you make something that's actually good for us. We like watching you cook and we like the recipes, but we don't want to get fat. So all right, I'm making some healthy, fibery stuff. Oh, and that potato salad, by the way, Chad, it came out excellent. Again, like I said, when you use dry mustard in a potato salad, it makes it a lot spicier than like just using table mustard. So if you don't have kids, they're gonna eat it, or if maybe your kids like hot stuff, but you can go ahead and use that. But anyway, that was an old one. That was a recipe, episode 12, I believe. If you want to go back through the archives and look at some of my videos. This is my 13th video, by the way, I believe. Today is my 13th video. Alright, so chicken stock is looking pretty good. Alright. It's funny on all those cooking shows, you see them just like fling the stuff and drop the stuff and put the stuff wherever. Well, they have unlimited resources and they got some kid that comes in and cleans up after them. So, you know, good on them, but I have to clean up after myself, so I don't do all that. I don't leave all my stuff around. Alright, so these are starting to get fairly squishy. Again, you don't want to caramelize them, not like when you make the chicken paprikash, which I haven't made yet, I guess, on video. But when you make chicken paprikash, you want to caramelize the onions because it makes them really sweet and really tasty. And then when you put the liquid in there, they just evaporate, and you can't even tell there's onions in there. But for this, because we're going to use the handy dandy food processor, it's going to turn it all into mush anyway. Oh yeah, that's good coffee. Alright. I do get curious to who's watching, and I actually do read your comments when you comment on things. So if you have comments, you have questions, you want to see me cook something, like go ahead and like throw a shout out there, and I will try to cook something for you. I know one of the friends at work gave me a recipe, wants me to do it on the video. I just haven't went and bought the ingredients yet. Alright, so this is looking really tasty. So I'm going to take the... Alright, so like I said, this is only 4 cups because that's all I had the big enough cup for. I don't have like a 6-cupper. So, since it requires 4.5, just ding it with a little half cup of water. Bam, 4.5 cups. And I don't want my butter to melt, so put that back in the refrigerator. Now to garnish this, what I like to use and garnish this for soups is anything that says you can use sour cream. You can usually get Greek yogurt and use that, and Greek yogurt's a little bit better for you. So I would say get the Greek yogurt. And if you want to be fancy, what you do is like when the soup's hot and you dish it up into the bowl, you take like a baggie and you put that yogurt, or if you're going to use sour cream, use sour cream. You put it in a little baggie and you just snip the end off, and then you spoot it in there, and it makes a little circle, and then you take a toothpick and you make little designs in there. It just looks fancy. You know, part of cooking is, you know, if your food looks nice, sometimes it tastes nice. I guess if you mess it up and at least it looks pretty, then people will be like, ah, it looked really good. Alright, so this says to bring it to a boil. You alright, dude? Alright. And this should boil rather quickly because this is a awesome stove. I prefer gas. I don't like to cook with electric. And in my opinion, electric the heat doesn't turn down as fast as it does with gas. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like cooking with electric at all. Usually if I'm cooking on top of the stove on an electric stove, I burn just about everything I make. So if you're like that person at home that like has an electric stove and you're like, I keep burning everything I make, well, if you can't change it because you live in like an apartment or you don't have enough money to buy a gas stove, well, that sucks to be you. But I would say try to cook on gas and leave the electric be because it's terrible. All right, let's throw our ingredients in. Oh, yeah, there's a bay leaf in there too. You probably saw it laying on top, and I didn't say it, so somebody's like watching, going, "Dude, what was that big leaf in there?" It was a bay leaf. Don't have to put that in. I like bay leaf in there. It's nice. It adds just a little hint of that bay flavor. Anyway, so this is coming to a boil very rapidly. Oh man, it smells real good. That curry hit the onions and the boiling soup juice, and it like hit me in the face, and it was, yeah, it's making me slobber. That's good stuff. All right, so we just want this baby to boil. We want it to come to a hard boil. So it's kind of like I was saying with the potato salad and the eggs and all the other things that you cook that you're boiling. If it says boil the potato, boil the egg, boil the whatever you're boiling, the water should be boiling when you put the thing in it. Don't just take some cold water and set it on there and throw whatever you're cooking in the pot and then turn it on and expect it to be done in the time that it says, or to be done in a way that is, I don't know. It's gross. I mean, you can do that with potatoes because potatoes take forever anyway, so you could probably do that with potatoes. But usually you want to have the water boiling first. And when you boil the water first and then you dump your things in, it's going to cool the water back down for a second because you just stuck all that cold stuff in there. But then it's also going to, it's already was boiling, so it doesn't have to have such a huge temperature difference to get back up to boiling. And then you start your timer from when the water boils again, not, some people are like 12-minute egg. Well, I put it in there and cooked it for 12 minutes. Like, well, it took 5 minutes for the water to boil, so you actually cooked, a 7-minute egg. That's why your yolk was running. If you do that math, it should add up to 12. I'm just saying. Oh yeah, rolling boil. Okay, so it's coming to a rolling boil. All right, so here's our 2 Gala apples and our 5 chunky carrots. It says you can use baby carrots too. I guess since you're gonna grind them up, you can use whatever carrot you want, I suppose. But baby carrots cost more, for one thing, because whatever, you get less of a carrot, they charge you more money. And if you look at a lot of those carrots, they run it through they look perfect. They look like Cheetos. They're like all the same size, don't have any texture. And what they're actually doing is they're taking a lot of the vitamins and minerals out of the carrot because they grind all the skin piece off, and all you have is the root part. And it's like, I don't want that. So like I said, if you can usually just get a good brush, like a finger brush, which you don't have to clean your fingernails. You can use this as just for food. But you can take a finger brush and you can brush your potatoes, you can brush your turnips, anything you're going to cook with a skin on it, you can brush it with one of these and then just cook it. Don't peel it because you're going to leave a lot of the vitamins in there. So just note. Alright, so put all this crap in the sink. We'll wash the dishes later. Alright, so it is returned to a boil. I'm supposed to cover it tightly. And then turn it down to a simmer. So one of the things that you have to understand sometimes when you're cooking, once you put a lid on something, you're recycling the heat in there. It's not escaping up. You're also keeping the moisture in, so it's not losing a lot of the liquid that's in there. So when you put the lid on there, one, it's keeping the top of the soup as hot, not as hot as the bottom, it's just touching the flame, but it's keeping the heat in there, so it's going to make it hotter. Like when I make egg drop soup, oh crap. When I make egg drop soup or dumplings, you put the top on because the steam cooks the top of whatever's in there. So this just helps keep everything nice and warm in there. And also, what you have to be aware of is when you look in there, it might have been rolling, boiling, maybe at a higher temperature. But once you put the lid on, you can kind of turn it down, and it'll still simmer but you don't want to keep it like at the same temperature that you had it at when you put the lid on, because it's going to get hotter and it's going to boil, and then it overboils. So if you ever like been cooking noodles or you're cooking potatoes in the kitchen and you stick that lid on there tight and then you turn your back, it never fails. It doesn't do it while you're looking at it. Wait till you turn your back, flows, there's foam and stuff going all over your stove. Yeah, that's because it's too hot and you're overboiling it. So you just want to kind of watch through the glass until it starts to boil again. If you don't have a glass lid, you have a metal lid, you can kind of just cock it to the side and look in there and watch for those bubbles coming up, and then kind of adjust as you can, and you're gonna nudge it down there. Okay, so that's carrot and apple curry soup. So what I'm gonna do when it's done, because I'm not gonna have you sit there and watch 25 minutes of vegetables cooking in a pot, because that's boring. So what's gonna happen is once this is cooked about 20-25 minutes and the veggies are nice and tender, I'm going to get a slotted spoon, and I'm going to scoop out all of the solids from the soup. I'm going to find that little present, the bay leaf, and get rid of it, because you don't want to keep the bay leaf and grind it up in there, because that will be terrible. Don't do that at all. So you're going to take all the solids and you're going to stick them in your food processor or your blender or your magic bullet or whatever. Try not to overfill it. Remember, when you put hot stuff into something, it expands it. So you don't want to overfill whatever you're sticking it in, because it will start getting everywhere. It'll pop the lid off your blender. It can be bad. And this is all things that I've learned because I was stupid and I tried to overfill it. So you just want to take, a couple, like do it in thirds. Or whatever size of your thing. Like if I was going to use my blender, I'd probably only fill it up to like here, and then grind up the stuff that's in there, scoop it out, put another thing in, and just keep doing that. So while you're waiting, you need like a standby bowl to put all the things that you pureed up. So all the stuff that you pureed up, you kind of stick that in a standby bowl, and as you do your things, I have a really large food processor, so I'll be able to fit it all in one. But anyway, so once it's all pureed and it's liquefied again, if it starts to stick to the inside, you can always take a little bit of liquid out of your soup pot. Just grab your ladle. The ladle is this one. You can grab your ladle and scoop like this holds about a half a cup. So you scoop a half a cup of liquid and dump it in there, and then that will kind of unstick the solids, so it'll make it juicy. I mean, it's all getting blended up anyway, but that. And then what you do is, once you have all those solids nice and ground up, you're gonna return everything back into the pot except the bay leaf. You threw that away. It's in the garbage. Forget about it. Don't need it anymore. You're gonna put it back in the pot, and you're gonna return it to a simmer. Not necessarily boil, because we're not trying to kill it. Just gonna boil it, simmer it. I'm confused anyway. So once it simmers again, then you're going to ladle it up into your bowls, and that's when, if you want to garnish it with that yogurt or that sour cream, you can squirt a little bit of that in there, throw a couple of little chives across the top, make it all look pretty and fancy for whoever you're serving it to. This will sit and keep in the fridge for 2 to 5 days. If you want to freeze it, it can last up to 3 months. Soups are, like I said, I like to make them during the holidays. They're good because they make you feel good when it's cold outside, and they are nutritious. If you have a thermos, you can take them to work with you, or you can give them to your kids, and that way they're eating something good and not some weird Michelle Obama crap that the kids aren't going to eat anyway. But anyway, so that's my curry and apple carrot soup, and thanks for watching.